In today's show, the Senate reaches a deal to end the government shutdown, resignations at BBC in London, and a viral mystery solved in Paris. Plus, Pelosi's retirement portfolio, a whiteout in Chicago, and Target's new smile mandate. And here's the trivia question. What was Veterans Day originally called? It's Monday, November 10th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hello, happy Monday, and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. If you listened to the show on Friday, I told you that I was bringing my two boys to a college football game. I'll tell you how that went at the end of the show. I've linked a lot of stories in the show notes today, so are you ready to conquer the morning? Let's take off with the biggest headlines in politics, sports, finance, and more. After 40 days of a federal government shutdown, it looks like there's finally a deal on the table to reopen the government. A bipartisan group of senators has negotiated an agreement that's expected to get enough votes to pass in the Senate. The deal was brokered by centrist Democrats like Senator Angus King of Maine and Republicans led by Senator Susan Collins, also from Maine. It came together during a Sunday night Democratic caucus meeting. One major part of the agreement is a promise from Senate Democrats to hold a mid-December vote on extending expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies. The plan also guarantees back pay and rehiring for federal employees who were laid off during the shutdown. The package includes 3 full-year funding bills covering agriculture, Veterans Affairs, and military construction, and keeps the rest of the government funded through January 30th, 2026, under a continuing resolution. Before it can head to President Trump's desk for his signature, though, it still needs to clear both the Senate and the House, where some Democrats say they plan to vote against it. 2 top BBC executives have stepped down after a major controversy involving edited footage of President Trump. Director General Tim Davie and News CEO Deborah Turnus both resigned after the network aired spliced clips of Trump's January 6, 2021 speech, footage that implied he directly told supporters to storm the Capitol. The edited version ran on the BBC's flagship news show, Panorama, and the backlash was swift. Davie called it a, quote, mistake for which he had ultimate responsibility, while Turnus said she was leaving to protect the BBC's reputation. She also rejected accusations that the network is, quote, institutionally biased. The resignations have sparked political calls for a full reset of the UK's state broadcaster. If you'd like to see the original clip and the doctored one, I, of course, have linked it in the show notes below. And finally, an update from that $102 million Louvre robbery and the viral mystery man caught in a photo outside of the museum. The sharply dressed figure, nicknamed Fedora Man, isn't a detective at all. He's actually 15-year-old Pedro Elias Garzón Delvoye, who happened to be there with his parents the morning after the heist. He said he had no idea a robbery had even happened when the photo was taken. Pedro, who is a big fan of Sherlock Holmes, often dresses in 1940s-style suits, and his vintage look made him an overnight internet sensation. As for all the attention, he told reporters, quote, "With this photo, there is a mystery, so you have to make it last." If you have not seen the photo, I've also linked that in the show notes below. Here's what's happening in politics. President Trump is promising what he calls a tariff dividend, at least $2,000 per person, saying Americans deserve to benefit from the billions collected through his tariff policies. The Supreme Court is currently reviewing whether those tariffs were legal, with some justices questioning whether Trump exceeded his authority when imposing them. He also said that high-income people would not be eligible for the dividend, but the details of how and when those payments might roll out are still a bit unclear. President Trump made a little sports history over the weekend as well, becoming the first sitting president since 1978 to attend a regular season NFL game. He was spotted at the Washington Commanders' home game against the Detroit Lions. Sources say Trump has also expressed interest in having the team's new stadium named after him, though that has not been confirmed by team officials. In New York City's mayor-elect, Zohran Mamdani, well, he's already inspiring a wave of younger candidates across the country. His surprise victory is fueling what some are calling a millennial and Gen Z movement in politics. While the momentum is strongest among progressives, younger conservatives, especially those aligned with President Trump, are also stepping up to run for office, hinting at a generational shakeup on both sides of the aisle. And speaking of New York, City Councilman Chi Osei is expected to announce a primary challenge against House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries next year. Osei, who's just 26 years old, is one of the city's youngest elected officials and says his campaign will focus on, quote, a new kind of leadership. But not everyone's on board. Even Mayor-elect Mamdani is reportedly discouraging the move. Here are some podcast extra stories. Let's start with former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's leaving Congress with some eye-popping financial numbers. Pelosi and her husband Paul reportedly made more than $130 million in stock profits over her 37 years in office. That's about a 16,930% return, far outperforming the major stock indexes. Their portfolio includes big names like Apple, Nvidia, and Netflix, and their total net worth is estimated around $280 million. Critics say their success raises serious ethical questions about whether lawmakers should be allowed to trade individual stocks while in office, especially when they may have access to insider information. It's a debate that's been gaining traction for years and is now fueling new calls for a congressional stock trading ban. Pelosi, now 85 years old, plans to retire in January 2027, leaving behind what many are calling a controversial financial legacy. And in the Midwest, winter is already showing up in full force. A winter storm warning is in effect for Chicago and across the Great Lakes, where forecasters say as much as 2 feet of lake-effect snow could pile up in parts of Indiana, Michigan, and upstate New York. It's Chicago's first November winter storm warning in 7 years, with winds gusting up to 30 miles an hour, creating dangerous travel conditions. The storm is being fueled by cold air coming down from Canada, and it's expected to last into today, with more snow possible near Lakes Erie and Ontario through Tuesday. If we have any listeners in the Midwest or any of these regions, please stay warm and always check on your neighbors. And finally, if you're heading to Target anytime soon, expect a warmer welcome. The retailer just rolled out what it's calling the 10-4 rule. It's a new customer service policy encouraging employees to smile, make eye contact, and greet customers within 10 feet, and then start a conversation or offer help once they're within 4 feet. It's modeled after similar programs used by Walmart and Disney, and Target says it's meant to boost both customer satisfaction and sales, especially heading into the busy holiday shopping season. The company says key shopper metrics improve when guests feel acknowledged, so expect some extra friendly faces in the aisles this year. My question to you is, this is a good thing, right? Let me know in the comment section below. Coming up, a 50-year mortgage plan that could reshape home buying, 2 Cleveland pitchers caught up in a betting scandal, and the story behind a $5 million Nantucket mansion that's free for the taking. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Native Path Collagen. I absolutely love this stuff. I use it every day. I'll tell you about that in a second. But made with only type 1 and 3 collagen, the 2 types that make up about 90% of the collagen in your body, it supports your skin, your hair, your nails, your joints, your guts, all without unnecessary fillers. It's a single ingredient formula, third-party tested for purity, and completely flavorless, so you can mix it into anything like your coffee, smoothies, soups, you name it. Native Path offers amazing bundle deals, and with this special link, you can grab 3 or 6 packs. Just get the 6 packs because you're going to love it. At a fraction of the price of other brands. There's over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee. Are you ready for the website? Go to getnativepath.com pathcollagen.com/flyover. Don't forget that to get yours today, or click the link to purchase in today's show notes. In finance, a major change could be coming for home buyers. Federal Housing Director Bill Pulte announced Saturday that the Trump administration is working on a new 50-year mortgage option. The plan aims to make monthly payments more affordable, though some economists say it could also mean paying far more interest over time. It's still in development, but officials say details are expected in the coming weeks. And ahead of Veterans Day tomorrow, 40 popular restaurant chains are offering free or discounted meals to military veterans as a way of saying thank you. The list includes big names like Applebee's, Chili's, Dunkin', Outback Steakhouse, Red Lobster, and Texas Roadhouse, among many others. I've included the full list of participating restaurants in the show notes if you'd like to see where you can go. And as always, check your local favorite restaurants as well, because they also may be offering up deals. And thank you so much to our veterans. Here's what's happening beyond our borders. A 6.9 magnitude earthquake hit off Japan's Iwate coast Sunday evening, prompting tsunami advisories and brief coastal evacuations. Thankfully, the threat was downgraded pretty quickly after waves of less than 8 inches were recorded, and officials say there were no injuries or damage reported. In Spain, at least 3 people were killed and 15 others injured when massive waves up to 4 meters high slammed the coast of Tenerife over the weekend. The waves swept beachgoers into the sea, leaving behind scenes of chaos as rescuers rushed to pull people out of the water. And in Bolivia, Rodrigo Paz has been sworn in as the country's new president, marking the end of nearly 2 decades of socialist rule under the Movement Toward Socialism Party. Paz, a conservative, has pledged to focus on restoring economic growth and strengthening ties with neighboring countries. In sports, we start with some sad news out of the NFL. The league announced that former commissioner Paul Tagliabue has died at the age of 84. Tagliabue served as commissioner from 1989 to 2006 and oversaw major league expansion, new broadcast deals, and the creation of the NFL Network. His leadership helped modernize the league into the global powerhouse that it is today. In baseball, 2 Cleveland Guardians pitchers, Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, have been indicted on charges of participating in a betting scheme involving the outcome of their own pitches. Details of the investigation are still emerging, but officials say the charges stem from wagers placed on specific in-game actions rather than final scores, raising serious questions about competitive integrity. Over in college basketball, Penn State opened its season with a dominant 87-43 win over the University of New Haven, which just joined Division I. The game was part of a 4-year scheduling agreement that helped New Haven make the jump to D1 after raising $9 million in funding. The school now boasts the 3rd smallest gym in Division I basketball, making Saturday's matchup both historic and, shall I say, intimate. And finally, one highlight that's blowing up online. Akeem Davis, a 320-pound lineman from West Virginia, rumbled 60 yards for a pick six on Friday night, dragging multiple defenders behind him all the way to the end zone. And if you haven't seen it yet, do yourself a favor and check out that clip. It's one of the most entertaining plays of the season that I have personally seen so far. Oh, yeah. And did I mention he's only in high school? In science and tech, NASA has confirmed that its experimental X-59 Swordfish jet successfully completed a supersonic test flight in October. The aircraft, designed to drastically reduce the loud boom that happens when breaking the sound barrier, could pave the way for the return of commercial supersonic travel in the U.S. within the next few years. NASA says the goal is to make flying faster and quieter for future passengers. And this one's wild. Scientists at Ohio State have built a working computer memory device using shiitake mushrooms. Yep, actual fungi. The researchers found that mushrooms can store and process information like a microchip. potentially opening up new possibilities for sustainable, bio-based computing. You can see the experiment in action in the video linked below. Here are some additional interesting stories for you today. The owners of a 5-bedroom, $5 million home on Nantucket Island are giving it away for free to anyone who can move it off their property within the next 6 months. What's the catch? Well, moving the house could cost between $200,000 and $500,000, but that's still a bargain compared to building new on the island, where construction costs can run as high as $1,000 per square foot. In Texas, a family thought they'd found 6 tiny kittens under their shed, but it turns out they were actually baby bobcats. Wildlife rescuers say the cubs are thriving in rehab and will be released back into the wild once they're old enough to fend for themselves. And in Paris, the city is holding a lottery for residents to help restore old gravestones in some of its historic cemeteries, and even buy adjacent burial plots near famous names like Jim Morrison and Oscar Wilde. Prices start around $1,100 and go all the way up to $20,000, depending on location. Here are the results of yesterday's poll question that Amy Hess asked you. Have you ever visited the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree? 59% said no, 29% said yes, and another 12% said, I'd like to. Well, if you were wondering, I have visited the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, and I'll never forget this. I played basketball at Boston College. We had a tournament at Madison Square Garden, and we got our butts kicked by Brittany Griner and Baylor. And our coach thought it would be really fun to cheer us up and go see the tree. We sat in traffic on a coach bus for about 2 hours, and when we finally got to the tree, we just drove past it. We never got out of the bus. So if you blinked, you would miss it. Oh my gosh. I have been back, though, a couple times as an adult, and it is very cool and very pretty. I will admit that. And here's today's poll question. We were just talking about Target employees being required to smile more. So here's the question. Are Target employees friendly where you live? Here are the different ways you can vote. Very friendly, neutral, kind of rude, or they just started smiling. Personally, I don't shop at Target, so I'm going to have to vote neutral for this one. You can vote in the show notes below, and I will read the answers in tomorrow's episode. In today's trivia question, what was Veterans Day originally called? Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day, commemorating the end of World War I on November 11th, 1918. The name honored the armistice signed between the Allies and Germany, which took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. In 1954, after World War II and the Korean War, the U.S. renamed it Veterans Day to honor all American veterans, not just those who served in World War I. So from us here at The Flyover, I know it's almost Veterans Day tomorrow. Thank you so much for your service. That is going to wrap up today's Flyover podcast. I promised I would give you a little update on how the Boston College football game went with my 2 young boys. And we survived. We got there bright and early at 8:30 a.m. for check-in, and we had an amazing alumni day with the women's basketball team. We toured the brand new facilities, watched practice, even hit the tailgate before kickoff. We made it through the first quarter, and somehow I convinced my 3-year-old that the game was over so we could leave. Mission accomplished. I did it solo, and I'm pretty proud about that. Shout out to all the parents out there doing the same. I see you, and I will see you tomorrow. As always, thanks for flying with us.